Alrighty, so sadly we did not have session last week due to scheduling problems. So, however, we decided to do the next few rooms in text RP. We ended last session with the party just in front of these two doors, and so that's where we decided to pick things up in text. So Tobias went around. He was going to look for some briar bushes and grab some seeds all around the haunted woods of the Misgivings. And Eugen starts with, I hate this place and everything about it. I swear if I make it out alive, I'll become a cleric or something, because this place is the opposite of holy and righteous. Tarak took a deep, shaky breath. I'm a cleric, and it's even worse. Even with the sheer number of haunts. A Runelord window and one for a lich. Sirocco of all of them and all that. I'd read about him. But the Foxglove is a window of someone like that? What does that make Aldrin? Not much better, I'd assume. How well he keeps this place can attest to that. Though I suppose he might just spend all of his time at his summer home, yes? If he's even a living mortal. All this just makes me think he is, and not one of this world anymore, though. Well, he definitely has a taste for younger guys, apparently. Caius stared over at the group. Hey, guys! Fairies are pretty! We have to save the trees! Tarak gave Eugen a deadpan expression. That's, wow. Well, why don't you become a druid, Caius? Huh? Am I wrong? Become one with nature for your dear nymph friend. Eugen grinned. We could marry! And Moon can officiate! The cleric sighed, looking to the dilapidated state of the house before shaking his head. And we have this charm to deal with as well. The nymph is a tricky situation, but hopefully this charm won't drag us down if we do have to fight a lich. He sighs again, smacking Caius's back a bit. All right, lover boy, don't go falling for every woman you meet. Don't worry, if anything, it'll encourage him to come back to her alive. Perhaps. It's still rather a bad quality, though. I can understand admiring someone and wanting to have affection in return, but this is a tad much, is it not? Tarak had a bit of a flustered blush as he said, and motioned to the swooning monk. Yeah, I wouldn't mind living here if this place was in one piece, and with a few less haunts, preferably. Oh, she is Gosray come to life. The moon is my darkness, my passion, and my strife. I don't know why I've given this voice to Caius, but I'm too late now. His tears well in the eyes, the lustful drow. Tarak, still with a bit of a blush, gave Caius a look that was a mixture of confusion and concern. You doing okay? Maybe she'll be impressed with your tales of defeating the evil necromancer and heroically saving your friends. How can you ask such a question? I am enthralled, entangled, wrapped in the arms of beauty and divine. You're right. Her hero waits. Tarak rolled his eyes, muttering something under his breath in Orcish. Whatever you say, Caius. Don't do anything crazy, though, please. Caius looked off in all directions. Where are we? Yeah, she won't hear of your amazing heroism if you come back in pieces. Well, I cannot disappoint Her Majesty. The orc sighed, shaking his hand. Well, she isn't that pretty. Euston looked at Tarak with his mouth agape. What? She is pretty, but not that much. Moondance is quite stunning, though not my type. I'm surprised you didn't fall for her, though. He pauses and sighs, smacking himself. Sorry, that was rude of me. Euston looked back at him. Are you saying Moondance is more beautiful? Well, she's also rather pretty. I would personally say more so than the nymph, if purely from personality rather than from looks. Again, though, I cannot be a great judge on that, so I'm not really into them. Let's not get too rowdy now, Caius, as Caius posts a bajillion reaction gifs. Pulling Tarak to the side. Don't worry, this should probably wear off in a few more hours. Maybe 3 tops, if I had to guess. Uh, the cleric sighed, shaking his head. I know, sorry, it's just, I like seeing him be himself, but he gets... Well, this is like when charmed Ulamar did the same to him, then he was a bone walker. I don't like seeing Caius get charmed, it's not him. Well, I almost learned to charm myself, but I took hypnotism instead. If I'd studied that, I probably could have countered it. Possible, but it's still difficult to see him get like this, especially if the person charming him is just going to hurt him or betray his trust. I will avenge you! Eugen laughs quietly at Caius. Well, it does provide a bit of comic relief, at least. She would never! Tarak looks over and gets a soft smile before chuckling and whispering to Eugen. True. He can be a bit of a lovable idiot at times. Caius withdrew into himself, no words getting through as he mourned the death of all the innocent plants around him. Eugen patted Caius on the back. Mr. Necromancer should have treated these plants better, huh? Don't worry, we'll avenge them. Tarak crossed his arms, looking at the plants, and carefully lifted the leaf of one. It's a shame that life here was snuffed out by this. When we finish here, I'll pray for the spirits that inhabit this place, and hopefully Sarenrae will hear my prayers and consecrate this location with her light. No worries. In about a decade from now, I doubt this place will even be still standing, even if we don't burn it down. There'll probably be a lot of plant life growing from the ashy soil. Caius let out a low sob, wiping the tears from his eyes, and sniffed. You're a good friend, Eugen. I can't imagine the horrors these innocent lives saw. He rose to his feet. He'll pay! You hear that? Tear your entrails from you with my bare hands! This is not a Caius voice. I am so sorry, Caius. Tarak put a hand on Caius's shoulder. Keep calm for now, Caius. Please. Well, someone's motivated. Definitely good for morale, though, that's for sure. We'll work this one out as a group. Right. We'll avenge these poor, innocent lives as teammates. Caius left a deep inhale and a longer exhale. I cannot stand for this. He looked at Tarak. First, he desecrates your home, defiling its sacred grounds and harming the precious moon dance. Now you tell me he's responsible for my heart's sadness? His empty eyes glared, low, feral growl. Tarak frowned and withdrew a little bit. Caius, don't make the mistake I did and lash out. There are still things we don't know, places we might still be missing. Aldrin might not be of sound mind when doing anything, if he's even the one behind all of this. I could care less. He'll pay for the pain he's caused. He raised an open hand towards Tarak and turned his back. Tarak sagged a bit inside. Okay then. Hopefully we'll have the real one of you back soon. Well, we could probably finish our encounter with him by the time Caius is back to normal. We can make do, though. He's not exactly impaired or anything. Huh? What are you guys talking about? I'm fine. Oh, no, don't worry. It's another Caius we're talking about. Okay. So about this skin saw man. Any ideas where he is? Oh, we're getting close, buddy. We just need to proceed slowly and carefully. Slow for certain. Careful even more so. These haunts have been vicious. I don't want to lose anyone here. Not to these things. I almost lost you at the farm, and I'm not taking that chance again. What? What happened at the farm again? He's the reason I had to... And Caius looks at Tarak. Tarak sagged a bit more. My father broke free of his bonds. He grabbed Gothy and almost killed Caius and these younger guards. And he wanted to take me somewhere, I assume here, to be with the skin saw man. We slayed the creature he had become. Sarenrae returned her gifts she had been granting me when I went for him, a blow that allowed Caius to finish the job. Eugen looked down solemnly. I never realized. I assume that's why Anichi's been staying at the bar? Look, I don't want to think about this, okay? About how you're all at risk because of stupid choices I made in the past, piling up and resulting in that creature. He leaned up against the wall, rubbing the heel of his palm against his eyes. But, yeah, that's one reason why. One of many. All spawned from a single choice that I made. Caius approached Tarak slowly. So you gonna stop this self-pity anytime soon? Not breaking eye contact. Well, we all make mistakes. When Tobias was trying to off himself, I was too terrified to do anything. That almost cost him his life. That's the thing. He broke eye contact, looking at Eugen. He didn't make a mistake, but choosing what he thought was best for himself. And he looked back at Tarak. Caius, you saw him. You've met and heard him, and you read that letter. I left when we fought, ran from my problems back then, and he hated my guts, taking it out on Anichi and my sisters. Tarak frowned and looked back to Yusjin. We weren't all able to act before someone does go that far. We're lucky that Tobias worshipped Gosre like Caius. What he did after the fact is beside the point. Any parent that uses their child as an excuse is pathetic. Tarak sighed. Perhaps. Still doesn't help that he was a different person before I left. From what I've come to know about you, you would have gone to this matter as well. Yusjin. Besides, had everything not gone as it had, who would have protected Sandpoint from the goblins? Who would have saved my life on the ledge in Thistletop? Tarak frowned, absently grabbing at his bloodied holy symbol. Uh, Perhaps you're both right. I'll see to this accountability of my own actions, good or bad, but he looked Caius in the eyes. I'm still going to do all I can to keep you alive. All of you. I'm a mess of a mortal man, but I'll be damned if I let my mistakes claim another life of anyone I care about. Tarak, we willingly jump into fights with goblins and dragons and shit for a living. I think we're all a bit messy when it comes down to it. Hmm, perhaps to a sense. Still, there's baggage with the past, and as I told Caius this some hours ago, when we went to the Rusty Dragon, the past is a way of ripping itself up and making itself known again to us. And for me, that means facing the consequences of my choices. For Caius, it's Yvonne and his mother. My hope is that the past won't bite anyone else so viciously and claim them for something someone's done, whether months ago, a year ago, or many years ago. Well, if there's one thing I'm sure about, especially after recent events, it doesn't matter how far we've come. If there's unfinished business from our past, it must be resolved. And speaking of that godforsaken woman, let's hope we don't have to deal with her anytime soon. If she does try to come for you, I was just having those glasses of yours on. Things will get bright. Then about a day later, Tarak stand up and stretched a bit. Well, if you're ready, perhaps we should take a short look through this library, or laboratory. With how clean it is, there might be something in here that can tell us who or what is waiting for us. Looking into the room, he saw shelves of books lining the walls, interspersed with curious objects such as skulls fitting with stubs of candles, tribal fetishes, and decorative scroll cases. An empty bird cage lied near the southern wall beside a small desk and a fine leather chair. Statues and sculptures from all corners lined the room. Tobias checked the room for spooky feelings and rolled pretty well. He heard a faint sound of papers rustling, like a book being read very rapidly. He felt visions began to fill his mind, memories of expeditions, sea voyages, and travels to various exotic locales. I think there's a haunt here, guys. Tarak entered the room cautiously, shield up, looking around for any activity beginning to rise. Gothied entered the room as well and looked over to Tobias. You should probably leave the room just in case something else in here makes you do something terrible. And she looked over at Tarak. You should be careful as well. Singling them out here seems like a bad idea. I plan to be cautious. Don't fret. To Tobias, the memories appeared to become more and more intense as his wanderlust grew. He had visions of far-off lands, of exploring entire worlds, of seeing all that he wished to see. Yet, eventually he began to feel regret and disappointment. He was only mortal, after all. He wanted to explore the world. He wanted to see everything there was to see in the world. But he can't. Not anymore. Ever since he sat down and married that stupid life of yours. And he failed his save, and he felt incredibly sad as the memories faded of a life he could no longer live. Tobias suddenly began to shuffle into the room half-heartedly, looking for anything of note, clearly not feeling good. Tarak frowned and held out a hand onto Tobias's shoulder. Hey, is everything all right? Watch out. He might be haunted. Stay on your guard. Nothing's all right, Tarak. don't even get to explore anymore. The only good part of being left behind. All I can do is look through all this stupid junk. We're exploring literally right now. Tarak frowned a bit and muttered a few small words of prayer under his breath and cast Lesser Restoration on Tobias, and bang, broke the haunt. Tobias suddenly feeling normal again. You doing okay now? I may not be able to fully used to how you used to act, but you seemed out of it more than normal. Whoa, Tarak, you sure know how to perk someone up. Well, looks like that's solved. Book time. Gothy looks over uncomfortable with the comment that Tobias said. The half-orc smiled and nodded. Don't get any ideas, men. Just be cautious. See if you can help Yuzjin find something. Gothy began searching the room. Yuzjin, do you guys think a haunt could affect familiars? It might, seeing how it's sentient to some degree. I'm glad Devon isn't up here for the same matter. A large creature like him might become difficult if possessed. Well, even if he could, the floor would probably collapse under his weight. Gothy began rummaging through everything. She spied a number of books on the wall, many of them about seafaring, such as how to sail, crew, and repair various types of ships, as well as several old issues of the Pathfinder Chronicles. She spied a number of weird fetishes and shrunken heads. Perhaps the most striking was a large painting she found. What an interesting painting. I hope this thing isn't haunted. She grabbed the seafaring books and stuffed them into her backpack. Well, the sea stuff might help Vasily out if we don't sell them. I was planning on giving to him when we got back. Tobias is going to start knocking books over with his staff and attempt to avoid getting haunted, but see what they are. Uh, Tobias knocked over a whole bunch of books, labeled "Sailing Alone Around the World," "Mwangi and Me," 2 Years Before the Mast, a personal journey, the Sailing Bible, Pathfinder Chronicles, Rova 4615. Tobias then spontaneously converts Longstrider into Summidatur's ally and summons a panda, or a raccoon rather, and begins digging through the stuff. It doesn't find anything. Tobias then, or what's called Yuzjin, then searches the room and rolls an unnatural 20. Yuzjin scans the room and, looking behind the painting that Gothy took off, he spied a loose brick in the wall. Ooh, hello! He pushed the brick through. As Yuzjin pushed the brick, it sprang back out of the wall, revealing a small spring-based mechanism, 3 stacks of coins, 2 vials of a black liquid, a scroll case, a key, as well as a small leather ring. Goodies! He cast Detect Magic, and detected the scroll case and the ring as magical. Gothy looked over to him. Hey, great find! Yuzjin does not know what the ring is. And both failed to determine what it is. So something about this ring really catches my interest. I'm sorry, I can't make out anything about it. Figures, we'll take a better look later. How about the scroll then? Opening the scroll case, he found it to be a 2-for-1 deal. He found a scroll of lightning bolts and a scroll of Lesser Animate the Dead. That's interesting. I will gladly hold these. Right, just be careful with them. I only have one lightning bolt prepared, so it's nice to have another. This packs a punch. The 2 vials he found are painted black and appear to have been sealed with an airtight stopper. Tarak is able to tell the bottles certainly appeared to be quite old. They don't think anyone's seen this sort of design before. These are strange. What do you plan to do with these, Yuzjin? Open, of course, safely. Yuzjin held it far away and let a drop fall out onto the table. He uncorked the bottle. Nothing happened for a moment. However, a moment later, something that looked like dry, decomposing straw poured out of the bottle, smelling of rot. Not entirely sure what this is. Tarak covered his nose, looking repulsed. That's rank. Go on. What even is that? It's like old hay. The substance looked like a mixture of needles and bark mixed together in some sort of foul-smelling gelatin. Tarak then rolled me craft alchemy and got pretty good. Tarak was able to deduce that this appeared to be expired pesh, a narcotic drug often found among lowlives and originates from Kapesh. Symptoms include hallucination, euphoria, paranoia, enhanced aggressiveness, etc., etc. Strange. Must be from someone here who was into drugs. This is Pesh. This is from the south, and what's in the other one, Yuzjin? I wonder if he's got someone capping off that drug, and that's what we're hearing. Probably the same thing. Or probably the same thing. I'll check. Be cautious. Don't breathe or ingest that. It's not safe when in good condition. I don't want to know what expired Pesh will do to us. I don't plan to. I feel like my immunity to diseases may help here, unless it's magical, and still then my resistance to magic might be an asset. Tarak backed out of the room to let Yuzjin continue searching, and checked towards Tobias and Gothy. How are you two holding up? It's been quite a time in this place. Don't worry about us. I'm more worried about you. These past few days haven't been the best for you. He sighed deeply, rubbing his head. I'm fine, just under a lot of stress. Trying to manage it all. Keep us safe. I'm starting to get low on channels, though, so I may need to begin burning spells or use my wand if more haunts come for us. He looked around at the dilapidated state of the manor. You sure you're well? I know I was taken hold of and dealt you a fair blow. I'm still a little hurt, but I'll be fine. It could have been a lot worse, but I think this thing me and Tobias got, she looked at her tattoo, it helps me take the hits better. Well, that's something good. Hopefully it provides more than just a sturdy hit. Or that strange teleportation that Tobias used back on the Isle. And as the party were huddling around each other in the hallways of Foxglove Manor, I rolled a random encounter. Suddenly, the ambient temperature of the room began to drop by around 5 degrees as a cold spike of air suddenly entered the room. Tarak perked up a bit at this, shield at the ready, his left hand free at the moment. Shit. I think this is another haunt. The cold in the air around him continued to drop, and soon small, barely noticeable fingers of frost began to climb up the exterior glass of Foxglove Manor as the water vapors froze. No apparent source of the drop in temperature appeared visible. No, uh, Tarak cannot determine where it is coming from. Tarak narrowed his eyes and he ignited flames around his hand with a firebolt, letting off the warmth to fight the cold. Stick together, everyone. Someone's coming. The temperature around them did not appear to drop further, but it spread. Frost appeared on the glass windows. The party's breasts became visible. The party felt heat began to escape from their fingertips and toes, and even small bits of water in the air appeared to crystallize into beautiful-looking snowflakes. Well, shit, this doesn't look good. Tarak began to head back into the lab room, pulling all the others with him as he can. Are haunts only mental? Because if someone shoots fire at us, I'd prefer it over a mental breakdown. Usually, yes. I've only ever seen them target a single person, though warning signs can be started by many. And this is giving me red flags, Yuzjin. Quite obvious ones, too. A few moments later, however, thanks to Tarak's firebolt the size of the house and your own body heat, the heat slowly began to return, as the snowflakes in the air began to coalesce and fall, creating a minor indoor snowfall. The ice and the glass remained, however. Are you out of channels, Tarak? Tarak will flicker the flames around him to melt the snow, looking to the windows. No, but very low. I have one more use, and I want to make sure it counts, especially since the last one got me possessed. And as Tarak brought his flame over the ice certainly did begin to melt, albeit slowly. Strange. What is your source? He touched the ice. Well, maybe it's not a haunt at all. Usually something bad happens by now. Perhaps, Still, this is unnatural for certain. If it isn't a haunt, though, I dread to find out what exactly is causing this Eusgen. Aldrin is still here somewhere, after all, and this skin saw man. Touching the ice did cause it to melt, simply from the body heat, and the ice did not animate or attack them. I'm going to take a closer look at this room. If I get possessed, you alone have permission to beat the shit out of me, Tarak. I'll try just to restrain you. Caius temporarily ignited his fist into flames to kill the residual chill in his bone. Something about this is off, I'm sure of it. Standing here probably isn't the best idea. He placed his hand on the window to peer into the darkness. Eusden looked around, and Caius also spotted a beautiful snowfall right outside the manor, right out of a storybook. Snowflakes were everywhere, and frost appeared to be built up on the window, making it rather hard to see through, as if it was Christmas morning, which was weird, since it was currently Farast. Eugene searches the previous room again, doesn't find anything. Well, quite a pretty sight at least. Right. Why is there snowfall in the middle of Farast? It's never snowed this late this year, even in Farasta. Candlemark came early. And as the party heated away the snow, it appeared to drip, drip, drip onto the old carpet of Foxglove Manor. As the water mixed with the floor, the party felt, but for a fleeting second, a sense of loss and unease, as it reminded them of erosion, of collapsing buildings, or the fact that time turned all to dust, and the inevitability of Mother Nature. Oh God, the sound is getting to me! It is a haunt! Tarak frowned, shaking his head a bit. That's unpleasant. He put a hand on Eusden's shoulder with a firm grit. Just keep a hold of yourself. When will the main event trigger, though? I'm certain this is something else now, Eusden. Though it is just as unsettling. You are? What else could it be? I'm not getting the same feeling I had when the other haunts came up. Call it a hunch. Alright, I'll detect magic in case you're right. Eusden cast detect magic on the ice. It pinged as magical, specifically strong evocation magic, like a cone of cold spell with a hint of necromancy. The ice, check it out. Guidance me while I check it out. Party did not roll high enough to determine its source, however. They did get a 26, which is fairly high. They figured out it is definitely magical ice. They do not know the specific source. And they do know a ton of spells that can manipulate weather. And the party also determines that this is divine ice, so it came from a cleric or something similar rather than from a wizard. Tarak frowned, putting a hand on the ice again. It's divine magic that did this. Caius, Tobias, do you two know if this is something of Gosray's doing? Oh, it could be Foxglove. There are necromancy clerics or evil gods, right? There is, but I never took him as the religious type when we first started talking to him. And those notes don't give me a sense he's working for a deity. Gosray doesn't show me anything right now. Well, open the doors then. If the doorknob's freeze shut, we'll have to break it down. Good idea. Tarak rushed to make sure the main doors are open for the lab, and hesitated at the doors on the other room across the hall. The room, the sounds of a woman crying could be heard in front. He could still hear these sounds, however, now a thick layer of ice appeared to be forming over the door. Nothing too serious, but the snowflakes in the air appeared almost magically drawn to it. The cleric gulped and warmed his hands a bit to make sure it isn't frozen before beginning to open the door. Hoping Foxglove isn't behind it? Well, we're gonna find out. Tarak turned the handle and opened the door. As he opened the frost-covered door, and almost immediately, the cold air came back. The cold from this room was not the cold of frost, however. The cold of abandonment. The cold of neglect. And the cold dampness one might find in an abandoned cave, as opposed to the rooms in the manor. In the room before them, they saw an armoire standing on the far wall. The ceiling here was angled downward. Anyone over 5 feet in height needed to duck down as they entered the room, which led to a small frost-covered window at the far end. In front of the window was what looked to be a double-sided mirror that seemed completely immune to the frost that overtook all the other glass in this house. Whatever was making the sound of sobbing was on the other side of the mirror. Tarak frowned as he entered the room, a hand ready to cast in case of defending himself, taking careful steps and looking around. Gothy peeked her head into the room. The feel of this room is very different from the others. I don't like it. She stepped in the room and moved towards the mirror. Yuzjin, I couldn't agree more. And stay away from that mirror. They're always haunted in the books. But as Gothy walked towards the mirror, she spied the source of the crying. On the other side of the mirror, she saw a woman. She had striking dark hair and an olive complexion. She was dressed in colorful clothing, but appeared to be ripped and torn. Her face looked exceedingly familiar to you, Gothy. Her body was twisted and mutated in ways you might never have thought possible. Her fingers ended in sharpened bones. Though rather than attack her, she simply stared at the mirror directly in front of her and endlessly cried. Gothy determines that this is the same woman in the painting that caused Tarak to attack her. You all right over there? Between bouts of crying, they heard, No, not anymore. Gothy looked over to Yuzjin. For the moment, she carefully approached the woman with her hand near her sword. What was that voice? Be careful. I'm trying. You think she's talking to someone or for herself? The woman continued to cry. Gothy wrapped one hand around her sword and gently placed the other on the woman's shoulder. Yuzjin approached the mirror slowly. What's your name? Are you okay? She continued crying, but said in a distinctively local accent, My name was Aisha. I was mistress here. He, he killed me. Foxglove? Yes? Your husband? He was not who he said he was. My beloved. He did bad things. Yuzjin quietly listened. Aldrin said he always said he was away on business. But his business was death. He killed many people. And he's continuing to do so. She continued to cry. Well, we're here to find out more about Aldrin. What can you even tell us? And there's no need to worry. We can try to end the killings anyway. He was always so angry. He found us in the library. We were only talking. One of the carpenters who was working on the house. He thought you were in love with the carpenter? What type of man thinks like that? Not a nice one, that's for sure. He wouldn't let me leave the house. I was only talking to the carpenter to help. He was sick, so sick. My beloved, he flew into a rage. My Aldrin. Your beloved. He unfortunately has taken a love with our friend. He's been causing trouble with us and everyone around us. The woman simply continued crying. Tarak, is there a way to free this woman from the mirror? Gothy kneeled beside the woman. Can you tell us why you continue to linger in this place? Why have you not moved on? She looked towards Gothy, then looked back at the mirror. My beloved. Tarak failed his religion check to figure out how to free her. Yuzjin, it doesn't seem like we can get much out of her. Maybe we can, after we get Foxglove, we get her. She looked up and looked at the mirror again, and upon seeing her reflection yet again, continued crying. Tarak, having listened quietly, sighs softly and approaches the mirror, putting a hand upon the glass. Lady Aisha, my name is Tarak. We're here because Aldrin has been fawning over me through malicious murder. Could you tell us everything you know about why he began acting so voraciously? Anything you could Talus would be a great help to us in bringing him justice for everything he's done, which includes what he's done to you. As your hand covered the glass, you heard her breast skip a beat, though a moment later she responded, "He killed me!" between her tears. "He turned me into this horrible monster!" Tarak responded, I don't see a monster within this prison, my lady. I see someone lost and in need of help. But I won't deny that he killed you. He took people from us as well, my father among them." She pointed towards her reflection again and simply continued crying. "I had no idea he was so violent. He loved me. I thought he loved me. He did what was best for me. Altaltern always knows best. It was my fault. I didn't do anything wrong." Tarak frowned and ran his hand over the mirror a bit to see if it helped relax her at all. "You don't need to blame yourself for anything he did to you. He sat on his knees before the mirror as though in prayer, grabbing his holy symbol with his free hand. What was he like when you met him? Think about that. I'm sure he loved you then." If it is too painful to think of, though, Lady Aisha, then take comfort in knowing we, the Sentinels, will do our best to deal with whatever he is now, and allow you to find peace. Hopefully, when all this is done, Sarenrae's light will find the spirits of this home, and guide them to Pharasma's court so you may all find rest. Between bouts of crying, Tarak was able to make out, "He was a nice man, a rich man, a loving man, but he never let me leave the house. I was too ugly to be seen in public, now even more so." But he was busy. He was always busy with his work, with his murder. I cannot rest until he is dead. Everything happened so fast that night. Tarak sighed, sagging more. I thought as much. Anyone would want to remain till what he did to you was brought to justice. But I do think you are beautiful, Lady Aisha, even in passing. Perhaps others do not think so, but you seem like a kind soul now, being twisted from grief and anger. He smiled a bit warmly. Would you put your faith in me, in all of us, to see him brought to justice for you? She simply looked back at her reflection and continued crying. The cleric muttered a small prayer to Sarenrae before removing his hand from the mirror finally, and stood back up. You all heard her. I promise to bring you justice. He's gone far too long for unpunished. Thank you. Caius stood in front of walked over to the mirror and said, That fool! He knows nothing of love, and I will teach him true lesson in passion. How could he do such a thing to the one he loves? My heart pains at the thought of my dearest in any distress. My heart burns with the flames of primordial fires of hell. Caius's teeth and fists clenched so hard, stirring blood from his ebony palms. Caius stared at the woman's reflection with sincerity and longing, but not for her. I will satiate the pain you feel, dearie. You will know the touch of peace once more when I bring you his head. His actions have wronged too many close to me. And he trailed off, looking at the frosted window, longing still in his eyes. It sure looks like everything got you riled up, huh? Tarak rolled his eyes with a smile, putting his hand on Lady Aisha's shoulder. My friends are right. We'll help you any way we can. It's kind of our job, actually, spoke Yuzjin. Never gets old, that's for sure. Lady Aisha, would you like to come with us? Confront him. We're still searching him out. Perhaps you might know where he's located. Seeing him brought to justice with your own eyes might help. I cannot. Why not? You have no tethers to seal you away. It is fear. We will keep you safe should he try anything against you. She simply pointed to her reflection again. I am a disgusting monster. He smiled, taking her hand softly. Only on the outside right now. You're still an amazing person, I'm sure. You're capable of tears, of having known love at all. Besides, look at me. You think I'm not seen as a monster, my lady? I have seen myself as one for many years what I am inside. By comparison, you are as radiant as a rose garden in full bloom. Oh, you liar, hideous, I am a monster. Do you believe a mirror shows you who you are on the inside? It only shows the outside, the mask that we are who hides behind. It shows me who I am, the monster I have become. I cannot live like this, but neither can I die, O tortured existence. Tarak frowned a bit at that. The mirror is nothing but a falsehood. In the end, it's simply glass that only reflects what's only on the outside. I cannot show you who you are within. Please. Tarak moved and stood between her and the mirror, and a hand offered out towards her. Take my hand. Let us see Aldrin together. I'll do all I can to make sure you find peace, and see who you truly are. Oh boy. As soon as Tarak obscured Aisha's own view of herself in the mirror, her demeanor seemed to instantly change. She stood up and extended a hand towards Tarak, grabbing him with the force of a gravity elemental, locking his hand to her like melted rock. Aldrin, she speaks. We shall see to him, all right? We shall see to him, and he shall pay for his murders! Aisha stood up and burst forward with unholy speed, bull rushing through the rest of the party, heading down towards the staircase with the speed of a racehorse. Tarak is essentially grappled at this point, and everyone else is knocked prone. Well, shit! As he was dragged along behind her, barely keeping his feet on the ground as he's pulled along. Caius landed on his ass, eyes wide in shock, and continued watching the dragging Tarak. I always have to get in the middle of shit that doesn't concern him. He rolled his eyes and looked at the others on the floor. Maybe she's smitten with him too. He stood and brushed himself off, looking at the others. You three all right? Gothy sat up and looked towards Caius angrily. Well, it's kind of our job to get in the middle of shit that doesn't concern us. She stood up and chased after Tarak and Aisha before she looked back. Yuzhin, Tobias, are you going to help me with Tarak? Are you two going to stay here? Yuzhin followed closely behind. Tarak yelled at Aisha to slow down as his boots scraped across the floor. The sentinels heard Aisha scream, Aldrin! As she booked it down the stairs to the second floor, and then further down to the main floor. Good lord, that woman can run! Tobias wild-shaped into a ghost to pursue. Lady Aisha! We're after the same thing! We want to kill Aldrin too! Slow down so we can work together to accomplish this goal! And Gothy began bawling like a goat. Tarak sighed a bit as he was dragged with ease. Lady Aisha, please listen to my friends. If you drag me down to him without slowing, it'll be just us against him and Samurai knows no what. I guess my joke was missed then. Oh well. Caius threw up his hands, following Goat Tobias, passing the others, and chased Tarak and Aisha. Aisha does not respond to any of them, and she bolted down into the main room in the manor, disappearing from the party's view as they all ran after her. Tobias and Caius, however, were able to keep up with her with their increased speed. As they tail her back down to the main floor of the manor, she ran back over to the center of the room where the party had fought their flaming manticore, and she promptly falcon punched directly into the ground, revealing a hidden and rather decrepit-looking spiral staircase. Rather than take the stairs, she simply cried out, I'm coming for you, Aldrin! And basically jumped herself down the stairs and plummeted several dozen feet. Tarak was freaking the hell out as he's dragged down, and expended a charge of his wings to trigger a slow fall, still being held by Lady Aisha. Tobias follows behind, bleeding at Devon to watch for intruders and Goat. Pacing Tobias, Kai had joined his companion in their free fall, using the wall to slow his descent. Tarak! You're alright, considering? Well, I still have use of both of my arms, so I think so. And both eyes? Have you been getting yourself free? Fallen. Tarak rolled his eyes at that, chuckling with a smile. Yes, I have them both, and I can get free if I really need to. I have Ulamar's anklet, remember? It's just words for keeping up. I'm not fast, remember? We are still technically slow falling. Well, I guess everyone's dropping in. Get free and land on her. See if we can subdue her. Rather than being dragged into the battle, Caius looked over at the goat. Flying goats! Nice! She's stronger than she looks, Caius. I think it'll be damn near impossible to grab her if we wanted to even try. I'm fairly certain only magic will free me from her grip. Caius shrugged. Tarak rolled a will save. He succeeded at it. Okay. Tarak and Aisha landed at the bottom of the spiral staircase with an audible thud and into the basement of the Misgivings. Before them stood a kitchen of sorts. At the base of the stairs, they saw a large oaken table, its surface covered with moldy stains and rat droppings, sitting in the corner of this large kitchen. Around them, shelves lined the walls, and an oversized fireplace dominated the northeastern portion of this room. The shelves in the southwest wall were in a much greater state of disarray, and two 1 foot wide cracks in the wall near the floor led south into the earth beyond the basement walls. Upon seeing this room, Aisha paused for a moment before unhooking her hand from Tarak and dashing off down towards the south hallway and opened a door. There were 4 other doors in this room. Gothy and Eugen slowly make their way down a huge flight of stairs and will arrive in about 20 seconds or so. Lady Aisha, please, just wait a moment. Not all of us are here yet. She ignored him and rushed ahead. Smashing sounds are heard as she screamed, You'll pay for the Sultan! Tarak tries to grab her wrist, fails, because she has some friggin' murder in her eyes, and he fails to grab her. I think it's best for us to follow her. The others can catch up. From the looks of this place might be a maze of sorts, and if we lose her, I think we're going to be in an even worse position. Caius bolted after the distressed woman, keeping a safe distance only to track. He was not concerned with stealth, but he tried his best to stay 30 feet behind her. Tarak sighed a bit and nodded, shambling after Caius at a double run as fast as he can. He drew his sword as he did, lighting it up so the others without dark vision can follow and see where they are. Caius and Tarak bolted down the hallway, ignoring the room they're in. They ran directly after Aisha as she ran down a hallway, and she opened another door and turned right. 1 round later, the 2 of them slammed open the same door. The 2 of them now found themselves inside of what looked to be an arcane workshop, although it now lied in ruin, and Aisha nowhere to be seen. A row of saggy books stood at the northeastern end of the workbench along the western wall, and at the other end of the workbench what looked to be 3 iron bird cages, each containing a dead, diseased-looking rat. To the east, they saw 2 stained glass windows. The northern window depicted a thin man with gaunt features drinking a foul-smelling brew of green fluid, while the southern one showed the same man but in an advanced state of decay, as if he had been dead for several weeks. His arms raised and his head thrown back in triumph, his rotting body turning to smoke and spiraling into a 7-sided box. Tobias bashed open the first door he saw to check what's over there, and as soon as Gothy hit the landing, she bolted after Tarak, trying not to get lost. However, by doing this, Tobias kicked open the door to his left, revealing a wine cellar with 2 intact racks of wine and about 1 billion broken bottles, inside of which appeared to be several hundred rats that immediately began to swarm over him and Gothy. Roll initiative.